This episode is brought to you by Groove Washer, the best record cleaners and protective sleeves for your vinyl collection. Ask for the Groove Washer from your local shop or go to groovewasher.com. Discount code VinylGuide10. And now, on with the show.
Well, hello everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 422 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And today we are speaking with Jack McEwan of the band Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. Now, I know that's quite a lot to unpack just in the name, but let me tell you, Psychedelic Porn Crumpets is an amazing band out of Perth, Australia. They make some gorgeous vinyl records and some killer music imprinted on them. Now today, Jack and I discuss all sorts of rare records from the band, the early and super collectible vinyl copies of High Visceral Parts 1 and 2. We talk about whether we'll get reissues of these albums, the Psychedelic Porn Crumpets process for making records, the origin, challenges, and benefits of the name of the band, as well as the new Psychedelic Porn Crumpets LP, Fronzoli, which is officially out November 10th. Grab a vinyl copy at psychedelicporncrumpets.bandcamp.com. And there's a few other albums out there besides Fronzoli. I think there's still some Night Gnomes available and some other merch. But really, I urge you, go there now because first pressing Psychedelic Porn Crumpets records tend to become very collectible. Again, that's psychedelicporncrumpets.bandcamp.com. or psychedelicporncrumpets.com. And hey, let's level with each other. You love records. I love records. Let's all love vinyl records together, shall we? And all you got to do is follow the Vinyl Guide podcast for free in your podcast app. Generally, there's a little follow button or a plus sign if you're in Spotify. Just follow the Vinyl Guide podcast and you will get access to hundreds of interviews and vinyl record talk with the likes of Justin Chancellor of Tool, episode 417. Comedian, actor, and podcast pioneer Mark Maron talks vinyl records, episode 400. Chris Shiflett of Foo Fighters, episode 382. Ben Blackwell of Third Man Records, episode 374. Ambrose Kenny Smith of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, as well as the Murlocs, episode 325. John Dwyer of the Mighty OCs and Castleface Records, episode 331. And literally hundreds more, all free to enjoy anytime just by following the Vinyl Guide podcast. All right, without further delay, peoples, let's get into it. Here is Jack McEwan of Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. This week on the Vinyl Guide, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jack McEwan of the Psychedelic Porn Crumpets, who's got a brand new album, Fronzoli, out November 10th. Did I pronounce that right? Fronzoli.
Fronzoli is how you pronounce it. That's exactly it.
All right. Now, what is Fronzoli? Do you mind me asking?
Fronzoli is an unnecessary amount of decoration. Something unnecessary added as decoration. So I found it on the old dictionary.com of all places. I'm a cheat. That's basically it. So, yeah.
Were you just searching for some sort of random word for the album?
Yeah, there it was. It was word of the day. So it was just slapping me in the face. But no, I think I was writing some lyrics and I was like, oh, what does that mean? I can't remember what it was. But then at the time, this word, just came up. And I think as everyone always asks me why you called the Psychedelic Porn Crumpets, I can now just be like Fronzoli. And I think, for one word definition, it seemed to sum up a lot of us as people and the band and where we were heading. So I was like, all right, wicked, there's the album name. So it just rounded it off nicely.
Okay, so Fronzoli, you ran across that word, it struck you somehow, and you just said, yep, let's run with it.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. That is it.
And, we'll dig into it really quick. The front cover, it looks like an older woman either playing a kazoo or having a vape. What is it?
It is a cigar. Yeah, no, so that was a photo at my wedding. So that was in March this year. And so that lady is Anne Cummins. I think that's her last name. It would be Anne Cummins, yeah. So, and okay. She is, or Anne Toomey. It'd be one of the two. Anyway, it's my wife's Anne.
You better get that name down quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, shit, we're family now. Yeah. So would that be my nan-in-law? Yeah, I think it would.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, she doesn't usually smoke. She's the sweetest old lady. And someone like bought back some like stogies for the wedding, and so it was like she was lighting it up for someone, and my friend who was a photographer just managed to snap this picture, and we were like, oh, and we were kind of joking about using it for the album cover, and we were like, oh man, because all the other ones are so safe. We've got this like, I don't know, a bit more trippy artwork and more of like a palette for colors, but now this was like, oh, this is like raw if we're going with it, and it kind of works, so I'm stoked with it.
Oh, okay. Well, look, I've ordered mine. I got the Australia Post signal today. Legend. That it's on its way. So
we would have spent last Tuesday shipping them all out. So we personally did them.
Oh, okay. So I'm very curious about the record label and how you run it. It's called What Reality Records? Yeah?
That's the one, yeah.
All right. So you guys have warehouse / someone's garage that you store all this stuff in, and then the lot of you just come in when it's album shipping day. You guys just come in and just make it all happen. An assembly line.
Yeah, it's pretty much it, yeah. We got the old sweatshop going, the old Perth sweatshop, so that, yeah, the band has 2 uses. But no, I think we're at Rish's house. So he lives in the hills. It's about a 40-minute drive from, well, if you know Perth, he lives in Kalamunda. It's beautiful. So it's just like right on the edge of like the national park. And he's like sort of the edge of existence, but we've got everything out there. Bunch of boxes of mailers and tapes and vinyl records. And yeah, so we've just tried to sign as much as possible. And I suppose once you've got that like one-on-one communication with the person who's bought it, like it feels a lot nicer. It's like we wrote the record in a home studio. We're shipping it out of one of the people's houses, and it's gonna get to your door from us straight to you with no middleman really. So it's pretty much as a home job as it comes, hopefully.
Now, are you worried a little bit about the scale at one point getting out of hand? Because look, if you keep working at it, your fan base is going to grow and grow, and pretty soon you're going to be at a situation where it's not just a 5-band member job. You're going to have to get others involved.
I think that would be a great problem to worry about, really, wouldn't it? It would be like if we were at that stage, then yes. But now it's like, I suppose we've got just enough, like we have distributors in America and we've got distributors in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so we do the Australian store. So it seems to have, like, obviously when it's album release day, that's the busiest we're going to be. But then when it comes to maybe just a couple of days or weeks after that, when it's a bit slower, then we'll spend maybe a day's work shipping everything out. So it seems to be pretty manageable at the moment, which is nice. And so we can write stuff and, I don't know, draw someone's face on someone's record when they haven't asked for it. But
I love that. I love that. Whenever I go see a band, you know, especially a small band who's made their own records, who's taken the time to invest in records, I want to buy one of your records, but do me a favor, just doodle on it, right? Just have fun with it.
It seems more of a personal touch, so hopefully we've done that. Or we're going to get a bunch of complaints and be like, what have you done? Like, because we've actually drawn, on the record itself. No, we haven't done that.
So with this record, I think you've got, is it 250 copies for the first Australian press? Do I have my numbers right on that?
Yeah, I think it was 500 for the first Australian press. So that's, I think, what we sold on Bandcamp.
250 are signed and 250 aren't.
That was how it was. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where do you get the records pressed?
So this was from Zenith. So we did them with a Melbourne company for the Australian ones. And they had, I haven't seen it before, but they did the recycled record. So every variant is like unique and different. Because we've done, how many records have we done so far? Like 5. This will be our 6th. We've done all these different splatter variations and rainbow and swells and things. And I think it was like, what can we do that's sort of going to be a bit different from any previous one? And the recycle ones, that if they get 2 different records, they look sick. Like some of the ones, I think we had like 4 or 5 different examples, which when we didn't want to take them all out the sleeves. Like, so when we did, we were like, wow, they look great. And I think in Europe, we work with X Vinyl X, and America was a different plant. So actually it might be all through X Vinyl X. I think we get them shipped. So it would be one of the ones from Czech Republic, I think. Is the big one.
CZ or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be someone like that. Okay. And then they'll be shipped to America. But I mean, if we can find local distributors who are good, like, I don't know, good vinyl distributors as well, like all ears.
Mm-hmm. So you guys are very hands-on, like picking the colors, picking the plants, putting that all together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you're quite a bit younger than me, not nearly as much gray hair. I was around, vinyl was the preferred format when I was much younger. You seem to have missed that, but caught the revival. And the interesting thing is you seem to really know how to put together a record package. Were records kind of in your youth?
Thank you for that. I think we've got like, I don't know, there's some where I'm like, man, we're so behind the ball on when you do look at like Radiohead packaging, or and I did just design as well. I'd love to be able to afford to get like those little secret slips, and you got this different like GSM sort of stock in there with some.
Let me stop you right there. Try not to compare yourself to Radiohead so early. Okay?
yeah, that's it. Do they ship them out of their bedroom? I don't know. They might. Like, there's Tom York just licking stamps. Like, but yeah. No, I think, yeah, like my dad's always had a record player, and when we were young, I think that's how it all starts, isn't it? Your dad's hand-me-downs, and you learning to break his stylus 4 or 5 times a week. Like, yeah. But no, with Rish is definitely the one who was more of a collector. I think when we first started making music, I was like, again, like the dream would be to have your record pressed onto wax. Like, I think that's every musician's pretty much dream. That's the ultimate sort of packaging, and you can hold it, you can smell it, and you can play it, and it's sort of, I don't know, it just feels like that's music. So when we are sort of writing records, that's the goal. It's like you got an A side and you got a B side. If it's too long, it's like you almost have to have 4 breaks. So I think we've sort of like got to the point of how long a record is determined because of the vinyl length. So we sort of seem to stick around that like 35, 40 minute mark. When I know a lot of people as well, like they're like, why don't you release a longer record? And you can, I suppose. But I don't know. I kind of just like that A side, B side, sweet. There's always that sort of break. Yeah. And it's always aimed at being on vinyl. So yeah, it's definitely the preferred medium of us.
I kind of think there's something in the human psyche that requires that break, that reset after about 20 minutes. Where you got to get up, you got to flip the record, and then you're able to kind of get back on. That's right.
Yeah.
So you didn't come necessarily from a record collecting background, or did you have a collection? Was it interesting? When did you find yourself interested in records?
Oh, man, like it was pretty much when I was doing design, I think, and I was like, CDs were almost dead even when we started to collect them. Do you know what I mean? I definitely have a bunch in the car, and then cars eventually didn't have CD players anymore. So even they don't make computers with CD players anymore. So you're just like, what? Like, if you wanted to put all your music somewhere, it's sort of just now back to the shelves. So, which is cool. But I myself have been much more of the branding sort of, like, I liked the design of it. Like, I liked the cover. I like if you put anything on a cover, it became artwork. Like, and that sort of as well, having my nan as the album cover smoking a cigar. It's like, that is art now. It's like, it's cool. It's funny. It's interesting. And it's just different. I think the record collection that I've got is way too small for someone that owns a record label. But I think that's because I'm trying to make them half the time. I'm also that person that gets kicked out of a record shop because they're like, are you going to buy it? And I'm like, oh, I just want to look at the gatefold, man. Like, let me have it. Like, what have they got in here? So, yeah, it's almost like I'm one of those. I'm a looker and rather than I'll take it home and play it. I think it's I like the look of the wax. And then if I do play it, like, I'll play it. I don't know. I can only play it once or twice before it's like movies where maybe my record collection is too small. I just need bigger records, so it takes like every year to get back to that style. And I feel like as well, it's harder for me to have. I like making heavy music, and I like making softer music. But I feel like if I say it, no one's going to buy Porn Crumpets records. But I like having a bit slower music in. I suppose that's everyone's, like, where you've got your record player. Do you know what I mean? Determines what kind of music you do listen to. So if the record was out out in the garage with a pool table, then Black Sabbath all day long. But now it's like it's in the lounge room with a bunch of pot plants around it. So it's probably going to be a bit more Andy Shaw flat.
Okay. So where is your record player?
In the lounge, yeah, surrounded by pot plants. So
Okay.
I'm now moving it into the garage with a pool table. There you go.
Yeah. Or you get a second one. Look, Black Sabbath goes with pot plants too, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of think, and I moved to Australia about 20 years ago, and I'm so proud to be here, especially at this time, because I really feel that this is another golden age of Australian music. There's a lot of phenomenal bands coming out. I mean, I put your band in there as well,
Millions.
but we're talking, King Gizzard and Amel and
Tame
Chats.
Pond. Yeah, I know.
There's a ton of great bands. Coffin, great bands coming out of Australia right now. Australia's not an easy place to escape from, to get your music out there. And Perth is even 1 degree further away.
Yeah,
so
it's a bit difficult.
yeah. When you started playing, when you formed the band, what was the aspiration for it?
Yeah, see that, good question, because that one is always changing. Do you know what I mean? So when we were first a band and we were playing on Thursday night to nobody, the aspiration was to be able to have a Saturday night gig. Do you know what I mean? It was like just that. We were like, oh my God, we're going to play on a weekend? Like, yeah, like there's going to be people there on a weekend. So, and then I think it quickly sort of went from that to you'd have a single launch, or maybe you'd book somewhere, and so you'd have the 200 cap room in Northbridge, like, and you were trying to sell that out or get your friends down, and then you've made a shirt that you love, and the single's like live, and you sort of like, oh my God, like we're being part of something. And I think it never really dawned on me that we would ever write an album. I think that was just like something that good bands do, or the big bands, and like it was almost you couldn't comprehend that anyone would just listen to this small band from Perth if they weren't in Perth. And then we started getting hit up on like social media, and they're like, oh, I've been listening to this from blah 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 country and whatever in America, and yeah, our SoundCloud was getting hit up by people and getting shared. And I think then it was like even more like, I don't know, not that we took notice of it, but it definitely became this thing. We're like, okay, like maybe we can back ourselves now to write an album. And then it just was fun. I think it was only fun. Like if we didn't, it's never felt like work, and it's never felt like anything that we're like, if we had a review, it would hurt, because I think we're not going for that. It's literally just like, this is music that we create. We created it in a barn. We've put it onto a record, and we're just stoked with that. And then the fans and the shows are almost a byproduct of that.
Right.
It's like, so, and I think that's a nice way to look at it, rather than being like, if you're trying to aim at other people and fans, then you're clinging on to something that isn't necessarily the thing that you've started in the first place. So you didn't start the band to make fans. You started the band to make music. So it's like, but then it's the good byproduct of it is having people that you can discuss things
You
with.
make the music that you want to make, and if people want to come along with you on that journey, then that's fantastic. So was there a holy shit moment where you thought, oh my God, we could actually do this for a living? Like what was there any sort of inflection point or something happened?
We seem to get them like once a tour, where maybe each album or something happens. You're like, oh, okay, like, fuck, this is real. Like, I think when the first time was maybe when we went over to Melbourne and we did our first like headline tour, and let alone there was like, I think we played at the Workers Club and the Tote. Like we did the classic venues for Melbourne. And we played with a band called Mangelwurzel, who was like Jarla, and it was her first band, Cozzy's first band. And I think just even getting over there, you felt like, oh man, I don't even know, just a king. You were like, we have come from Perth and we've sailed over to the eastern boundaries of Australia to bring music. It was weird. And you're like, kind of going back. You weren't there necessarily for the Melbourne scene and the Melbourne crowds. You were there because you wanted to tell everyone back in Perth that you were like, oh my God, we went to Melbourne. Like, we played all these shows. And to them, they're imagining like these grand halls and everyone's dressed up like weirdly, and it's like, because it's Melbourne, there's 10,000 people in a room, but really you're like playing at 12 o'clock in the back of a bar, like, and they got a bouncy castle outside or something. Yeah, it's just like, it's never as glamorous as it is when you're doing it, but for us it was like, wow, like we can do it. And we only ever wanted to go back, not because we wanted to tell everyone in Perth, but it was like, then we were like, okay, what if everyone in Melbourne enjoyed it this time around, and what if everyone did this? And to the point now where I think, like, we all did a gig. We've done the last couple of tours like completely sober, just because we've sort of crossed that boundary of like, if we keep going on stage drunk and not playing the songs of how they're intended to be, like, it's gonna get pretty tedious for everyone else listening. Like, it's not for us anymore. And I think that was a big sort of holy shit moment. Like, if we do it right, that's a job. And I think all of us sort of never really thought it could be a job. So you're always like, like now, like, it's just a bunch of fun. Like, we'll have a beer with our mates and it's Saturday night, let's do it. And then I think as we started touring more around Europe and America, and Saturday night was every night, then you're like, okay, right, not only do we have to kind of look after ourselves for health benefits, but like, we could actually do this. Like, this could actually be a career. And I think we're now getting to that stage where it's like, all right, like, we're coming home when we used to pay ourselves a Mars bar, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, cool. Like, you actually made a bit of money to afford some rent and or to write the next record.
Yeah.
So that, when we could make enough money off our own back without a label, doing this Fronzoli one, and we funded enough to be like, cool, we have literally the budget that we set for Fronzoli again to write another record. That was a big holy shit moment. You're like, oh my god, like, okay, right, we can actually make something here.
So do you have all the equipment? Do you record it in your own studio? Is it all band owned?
It's pretty much where you were coming from at the moment. It's I wish I should really set up the computer that way so you can look back, but it's not huge. I need to. Everyone who comes here is like, you doing all that? Like, yeah, like, I should actually probably get some new gear. But I think setting yourselves limitations as well. I don't know.
Constraints are fantastic. I mean, I think the first dozen King Gizzard albums were on an 8-track.
Yeah, and then was it Stu was talking to someone about how he records with an iPhone now? I was like, fuck off, man! Like, yeah, how?
Yeah,
it's mad.
Yeah, so you don't need huge investments these days to be able to make that happen, but you do need skills. You do need to be able to develop, the ability to mic something so where it comes through, it's recorded well, and to be able to mix. Is that something you've had to kind of work through and evolve your skill set?
Yeah, still 100% working on that. Like, I am the amalgamation of bad techniques, and I think they're just littered with it, like the record. So I think I went from like band mentality to playing live was sort of the only thing I really was focused on. To when I started recording properly, it's now like, all right, like, I think my heroes went from like Kurt Cobain and Hendrix and Aussie to like being Rick Rubin and to I don't know, I'm lost for words now, but like old Friedman, he did MGMT and he did Tame stuff.
Jeff Emmerich,
Jeff Emmerich, another great producer. But I think it's that I watch studio gear now and I try and go like, oh, how do I emulate this? How do I emulate that? When I probably am years behind, where if I kind of get caught up with that. Like, if we went and recorded with a studio engineer and we did the songs of what we did live, it'll probably sound a lot better. But it's almost like now you can sort of follow the progression of Porn Crumpets weirdly, because you're like, all right, this is when Jack thought he knew what he was doing. So like maybe in 10 albums time, you'd be like, all right, it's starting to sound right. And in the middle there, you're like, okay, I can see where he's got this and done this and whatever. But it's starting to sound a bit cleaner. I think hopefully it's getting to that point where like the things I am recording, I don't have to cake as much in distortion or reverb or hide it.
So going back to High Visceral, the first official album from Porn Crumpets.
Yeah.
Now, that was part 1. There was a part 2 that was released the next year. Those have been out of print for quite some time.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about bringing those back, or are you thinking about doing any remixes or anything like that to perhaps correct history?
Yeah, mate. 100%. Like, I think we would do... Well, there was this thing the other day. What was it? Someone was like, you've been in a band since 2014. I think I started recording in 2014. I think we released High Visceral in 2016. So I've almost been doing... At that time, it would be like more time doing Paul Crumpets than I was at school, which is weird. Like, so it got to go... As a 10-year anniversary, I think eventually we'll have the whole B-sides in it, part 1 and part 2. But we should definitely do part 1 as a self-release as well. I think we did some for the shows in America. But there was just a small run to sell at shows. But yeah, I mean, going back to what we were talking about before with the packaging it well, I would like to do some sort of like it's almost like a book. There's more to it. Like, I don't like the idea of repressing something and it's just a black record in a single sleeve and there's no gatefold. It's like, if we've already done it as that, then don't make the product less involved. Like, I'd like it to sort of get better. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, of course. Have you done any just pure black records? I think all Porn Crumpets records have some sort of color in them.
I don't think we've ever done a black record. I don't know why. It's just boring.
Yeah. So you started High Visceral parts 1 and 2 were on Rhubarb Records. Who was Rhubarb Records?
We'll be back after these messages.
Well, hey there, record collectors. There's a new service available that specializes in record cleaning, restoring, sticker removal, and professional grading.
VMGvinyl.com.
VMG Vinyl can help you make the most of your collectible records. From professional cleaning of records and sleeves,
Removing old price tags and store stickers.
dry cleaning and rejuvenation of old shrink wrap to make it look like new, even providing you a professional play-tested third-party grade with either removable grading or encasing in plastic. You have a wide range of choices at VMGvinyl.com.
Buying a highly collectible record and you want it checked out by an expert?
VMG Vinyl can do that too. Head over there now and see what VMGvinyl.com can do for you and your collection. That's VMGvinyl.com, the one-stop shop for professional third-party grading, cleaning, and record restoration. That's VMGvinyl.com. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to groovewasher.com and use discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's groovewasher.com, discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
Now we return to the program, already in progress.
No limits.
So, High Visceral parts 1 and 2 were on Rhubarb Records. Who was Rhubarb Records?
So Rhubarb was Dylan Sainsbury. So he came to us. He worked at a place, Rhubarb Records. Like, it was pretty much one of the vinyl shops, or one of the only vinyl shops sort of around where we lived. And he came down to a couple of shows. And we were very early days. I think we just released High Visceral. And maybe a week later, he was like, do you want to have it pressed to record? And like, obviously we just jumped on it. We're like, yeah, like, hell yeah, like, that sounds amazing. So he sort of got us into the record game. I think he was like, all right, this is a record store, boys. Like, here's where we sell records, like, and we're gonna do your one, and it's gonna be on the shelf. And we pressed 250 part ones, and he was really just such a kind human. He didn't go like, here's any contracts. Like, here's basically, we're gonna do 250 records, and if you guys press 250 records later on, you'll make this amount of money. And it wasn't. We were like, oh, what? Like. He was like, yeah, like, there's people who will buy these records. And so he sort of showed us the entire record business. And that's pretty much what we got up to until we signed a deal with Marathon on this after part 2. So he showed us part 1, he pressed part 1. We did part 2 ourselves. I think it got to part 2 when we were trying to record the third album. We were like, we're going to need to sell like a lot more records if we're trying to sort of progress. So that's where the record label sort of helped. They funded us for touring. We were managed to release like a lot of records, and they were really good. Marathon were great. They asked us, what do we want? And we'll stay at your ears. They didn't pick any singles, and they weren't really like interested in changing the music. They were like, cool, like we're happy with what you're doing. And I know they wanted to do Fronzoli as doing another deal, and I think it was a couple album deal. But I think we just at the time where we were like, man, we need to like go back to that ethos of what we had, which Dylan showed us, and being like, okay, like hopefully big enough now where if we ship them ourselves and do everything ourselves, then we can like actually give this a really good crack of being probably independent, probably self-releasing music, and just setting up the groundwork for hopefully signing other bands eventually. So not to make money either, to be what Dylan showed us. It would literally be like, here, if you do this, we can do that. And at least it's just a sort of a hub rather than a money-making thing.
Now, you've actually started to sign other bands, people taking pictures. Is that another...
That's Rich, yeah. So he's but his band is good. So I think we just wanted to give ourselves a platform to release music ourselves. And I'm about to do another project with Alex from Great Gable called Yellows. So like I'm nearly finished that record. I mean, the record is finished. When I say I'm nearly finished, I'm just writing more music until someone just goes like, you're way over deadline. But I suppose because you can't tell yourself you're way over deadline. So it was sort of like, as I was writing Fronzoli, this whatever was sort of acoustic-y would go into this other project. And I found that a lot easier now. If I write, instead of not writing something, I would just be like, well, that might work in a different project. And so I can still finish it, and it sounds, I don't know, it just gives me the freedom to be able to write rather than scrapping things.
Right. So I don't know if you keep up on the record collectibles market. Are you familiar with what some of those early rhubarb pressings go for these days?
Someone had showed me something ages ago, but no. Are you talking about Discogs and stuff?
There's Discogs. There's other secondary kind of markets of where you can get these records, but
shamefully, no. I should keep up more with it.
Oh yeah, you may be embarrassed by it. Do you know some of these records, your early records, going for $400 and $500 each? You know, I mean,
that's hectic.
They're very hard to get. That's the thing, which is, like when I went up there, I discovered your band about it when Night Gnomes came out, and I was like, oh my god, I got to get everything these guys do. But there were only a few of them that were still in print, and I still are looking for other ones. So that's why I'm personally interested in High Visceral Parts 1 and 2 reissues.
Okay, well we'll definitely be doing them again.
Good,
like for sure.
Good. Yeah. How did those sell initially? Were you selling them at live shows? I imagine they were in the Rhubarb shop,
Yeah. I think we must have put some on Bandcamp, I think. And we would have put some, I think we did an album launch and we sold probably a fair few of them. So I'd say Perth is where the majority of them are.
Yeah.
But then, there's someone who came to a show in America and they had an OG like Rhubarb 1 pressing, and I was like, fuck, and it was the orange one. Like, the band don't even have them. They were like, I think I gave one to my brother, so he'll have one. Tell him it's worth $100 and it'll bite your arm off for it. So no.
Yeah. Well, look, if you find a box in there somewhere in Rich's garage or anything, you're
yeah, dude, that'd be funny.
Very good. So there seems to be a lot of really interesting inertia around psychedelic porn crumpets, and I wanted to ask you about the name, because obviously it's a very unconventional name. Was there a name prior to psychedelic porn crumpets, or was that kind of it from day one? No,
it was just it. So it started as a branding unit at uni, where they just gave us free reign to sort of design something. It was one of those introductory units where they're just like, hey, you're being a graphic designer for a day, choose something, brand it, show us, and blah, blah, blah. And I think at the time I'd just gotten into Unknown Mortal Orchestra and King Gizzard and Pond and Tame. So this would have been like 2014 maybe. And I think like I just thought psychedelic porn crumpets was hilarious. That was it. It was nothing. It was never meant to be a band. And my lecturer just asked like, oh, like, do you write music? I was like, oh yeah. Like he was like, and at the time I was like doing like hip hop stuff like on a machine, and I'd played in bands. I was playing bass, and I'd played guitar previously in other projects, but never sang or never done anything like that. So I sort of was like, all right, I'll write some music. So I did Cornflake, Marmalade Marching, Cubensis, Lenses. So I was like, that'll fit the theme. And then I really enjoyed doing it, that I was like, oh fuck, like, why am I doing design? I kind of want to do music now. Mm-hmm. And I was always recording in Ableton, but it sort of became, I don't know, almost like a performance art thing where I was like, oh, well, I'm not this person, but I'll live the brand, I'll live the thing, I'll be the Porn Crumpets frontman kind of thing. And then it changed after a couple of albums where I was like, oh my God, I need to be like myself. But myself became it so much that now I'm like, what the fuck's going on? It's like, do you know what I mean? I should have a suit and tie and go and work somewhere, corporate world. But sort of just became Jack from Porn Crumpets. You're like, oh, that's a hard one to work. Yeah, you can't work with children after being in the band name. Yeah, so it's like
a little hard to get one of those working with check. Working with children checks. Yeah.
So it was definitely a strong move.
So has the name, I guess, because even developing this episode, I'm thinking like, okay, is Google going to do something weird with my algorithm if I'm publishing something porn, something or other?
Probably.
Like, yeah. Like what sort of stories, what kind of experience, what kind of guidance would you give me in terms of how to
I would say go build a time machine and we shouldn't have done this interview. That was basically it. Your channel is now forever blacklisted. No, I think, I don't know. It definitely has affected us through social media. Like people are like typing it. I think they've come up with psychedelic popcorn crumpets. Is like, if you type that in, you can get everything. So that seems to be, we should really change our name to that. But it's just kind of funny. I suppose when we're doing shows as well, it's really word of mouth. And I think that sort of is a testament as well to like the work and the records. And it's almost like if people want to find it, they do find it. And it's not a band you stumble across, maybe on a Spotify playlist or something, but you don't get fed too much. Like, it's definitely a word of mouth band, which I kind of enjoy more. So it's like, I remember seeing Gareth Lydiard talk about Tropical Fuckstorm as well in the same way, where it was like, he was in the Drones and then changed it to Tropical Fuckstorm. So it wasn't like it was called something previously and we went Porn Crumpets, but
yeah.
I'm almost, I don't know. It's a hard one. It's because it is what it is. I'll do it. Yeah. What do you think? What's your take?
I would anticipate, I would suggest it's probably a benefit. And here's why. And now I just had, the band Pigs.
Pigs 7. Yeah.
Yeah. But like someone told me they were recommending a bunch of bands, probably 3 or 4 different bands, and Pigs was one of them, right? And that's the one I remembered. And that's the one I went and I looked for. And I think the same happened with Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to forget that name. And so I went, and I think that's how I kind of stumbled on I got on the trail, right? I got on the scent that way. So I think it's good for introducing people to it. I think it's just probably an artifact. Yeah, very much like Tropical Fuckstorm. People who are offended by it probably aren't going to be the market you want to reach anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. You've already narrowed it down to your listener. If you like the sound of the band name, you're probably going to enjoy the music.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very self-descriptive. Well, not the Porn Crumpets bit, but very psychedelic, I would say. But I would imagine
that's the bit I don't like.
I would imagine you'd probably also get some editing of it, especially in the U.S. My former country. I know that when you play certain areas, you probably can't advertise it as freely as others.
That's why I think it is word of mouth. And it probably just gives our booking agent an absolute migraine every time he's like, who have you booked? Oh God, all right, okay, like this is gonna be a hard sell. But the shows in America have been, strangely enough, that's our number one market now. Like,
is it?
Apart from maybe Netherlands, I think it's to do with anywhere that legalized weed, we seem to just absolutely thrive. So it seems to have people, I don't know, like Colorado and Amsterdam, 2 major cities where we have just, I don't know, that's it. And I suppose they're still big music communities, but they're not the biggest cities in the world. So, but them two are just like, yeah, can't get enough. It's great. Like, I'll jump on board with it.
Oh, well, Oregon just legalized mushrooms, so maybe there's a market there.
Did they?
Yes.
Oh my God, there you go. Fucking hell, how do you legalize mushrooms?
Well, how are you going to stop it is probably the better question. It's like, they might as well just accept it and tax it. That's the...
Yeah, it's true.
I hope Australia comes around one day. Mushrooms too. That'd be fun.
That'll be very interesting.
So you spent a lot of time in the U.S. Now, the levitation sessions, how do those work? Do you have to get invited to the levitation sessions? How does that come together?
Yeah, so they actually hit us up asking if we could do, I think at the time that was like a COVID sort of session they were doing. And I think they've done them previously, but obviously in COVID, like that, absolutely everyone wanted to watch someone being outdoors and a band sort of playing. So really great idea. And we became friends with Harry because he was managing, I think it was Frankie and the Witch Fingers, and we did our first tour of America and they supported us. So sort of always kept in contact with Harry, and then he hit us up because we were going to do a press-in for Fronzoli with Levitation. And I feel like that session we were on to an absolute winner. We went down to this place, like our album was called Night Gnomes. We recorded all this music and we went to this place called Gnomesville down in just like near Bridgetown, like sort of south of Perth, maybe a 3-hour drive. And we set everything up, spent the whole day setting up our lights, visuals, Tay and the cameraman. It was like getting cold. We're like, all right, we're going to start. And we're about 2 songs in, and an angry neighbor came down and was like, I'm going to fucking run you over with my bobcat if you don't piss off. We were like, no way. And he was like, I'm coming back. Like, I will absolutely flatten your gear. And we were like, okay, this guy is mean. Like, he had a big old chopper handlebar, like mustache, shaved head. And you don't fuck around with those sort of dogs 3 hours south of Perth. Like, yeah, okay. He will come down in his bobcat. So we had to pack up, and it was sort of this rushed job of finding another location and doing it quickly when everyone was free. And we did it. My parents had this little property, like, so they just had some grass patch. We did it opposite the lake, and it was such a rush job that I don't think any of us were very happy with it. Harry liked it, which we were pleased with, but it was for the one live session to go to a record, being that we were like, no, it was heartbreaking because obviously the real one should have been before. So it was sort of this sort of it was a bit heartbreaking. So now I'm like, all right, we need to do a new one. So I'm always in Harry's ear, like next time, like, can we do a new one? Can we do another one? Can we do another one? So hopefully we'll do another one soon.
Now I've noticed there's no Australian release for that. Is that why you're hoping for a second chance at it?
No, I think he just did any of the other ones have an Australian release? The Levitation sessions?
I think some of them did. I think bought some from Strange World, I think. I don't know. I could be wrong.
No, I think they just maybe he was just selling them in New York where they're based.
Okay.
For Greenway Records. So yeah, that's but no, I would love to do an Australian live session. I think that would be sick. And now we know like that we could actually do a couple on ourselves with maybe Zenith and
yeah,
because it's hard. Like everyone has a very different story about Perth record manufacturers. So it was like for ages, everyone was like, "Oh, you have to go over to Europe. You have to do this." And we got a test press, and we're like, "That's sick. Like that sounds amazing." It's like, what? You just pressed in Melbourne, like, and now they're getting a very good reputation. So
Zenith is beautiful. They're certainly one of the best plants in Australia, if not beyond. Beautiful art as well.
Yeah, man, the stock that we're like, wow, this is sick. This is way better than European stuff. We're like, okay, like what have we been doing for 5 years?
Have you ever gotten a record that, once it's come back to you, you guys were disappointed, either color wise or sound wise? Or
oh yeah, no, that happened a lot. Like we definitely had a few maybe tour represses that were not necessarily the ones that we've decided to put into stores and do like actually release like that. We've always sort of, if it was bad, would send it back. Do you know what I mean? It would be like, would work out like, okay, no one's paid for that. Like and they're not going to pay for it because it's flimsy. It's going to snap before they hold it. So, like, definitely we've sort of tried to have like a really good rapport with fans, and so that they get good quality records. But there was one where we did a repress. I think it was of a High Visceral, and that was for maybe a European tour. We only did like 100 or maybe 200. But they were literally like frisbees, and I think that's where it came from, the term. We were just like, that is like, nah. So we just started calling records frisbees from then on.
Right.
Which, yeah. But never again. Now it's like quality over quantity. Like, I think that's always after getting stung. And they're not cheap to produce as well. So you kind of take a 10 grand hit if they're not good. So now we sort of really try and work well with the distributor as well.
Yeah. And again, with Zenith, you kind of, you keep the money a little bit more in the community. It stays in country. You feel a little bit better doing it through an organization.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Now, I've noticed that some of the releases have had a few extras there. And I think my copy of Shiga came with rolling papers, I want to say.
Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah. What are the things? What are the kind of interesting things? What's the strangest thing you ever put on the merch table?
Oh my God. No, I can't remember. Like, we've done, merch has only become this thing recently where we've sort of paid more attention to it. Like, because it was this sort of two-way street where you're like, we're not a shop, we make music. But then I suppose it was the more people kept coming up to us and like, why don't you have any beanies, or why don't you have any hats, or why don't you have rolling papers, or why don't you have like Zippos and things? And now we're getting into more of these refractional glasses and trying to actually think like what people want and need when they are at the show, or what they would wear or use afterwards. And you don't want to seem like you're milking it. I've always hated that. I've always been like, look, like I'm someone that doesn't even want to post on like social media that we're doing a record. Like, I'm like, nah, let people find out. It's way more fun. Do you know what I mean? If they're like, what, they released a record? Oh shit, I got to go and find it. And you're like, I don't know. I sort of think word of mouth rather than social media all day long. But then our manager will just be like, you're not going to make any money.
Mate, we need petrol to get to the next town.
Yeah, literally. And I think because that's not been a high priority of mine, that I probably, it's good I'm not managing the band. But no, I usually like asking people at shows, like, what would you wear? What do you want? What do you like? What should we work with? And hitting up a designer as well if they've got some ideas, like, tends to be the go. But it's hard, it's hard coming up with something completely unique for merch. But we've been putting our brains together for a while, talking about doing little tab books and photography stuff, because all the boys we've always got cameras or doing bits and pieces. So trying to involve that, and also trying to make it more hands-on. Like, we wanted to take a tattoo artist with us for the last couple of tours and do throwies, because he was down the bowls club where I was drinking, and I was just going up every time I was getting a pint. I was like, oh fuck it, I'll get another one. And it was fun. And there was even like 60-year-old women who don't even have a tattoo and usually talk badly about them. And they were like next in the chair, like they were like getting a bowling ball or something. And so we were like, imagine having a tattoo artist at shows who was just doing little designs, and it was only going to take you 4 or 5 minutes. But I think I would love to go and see one of my favorite bands and be like, yeah, like I got a tat there too. It just, I don't know, might just say like, you're an idiot, but like, that's it. It's like, nah, I got it at a Giz concert. It'll be great.
Well, we look forward to that. You guys are touring. So Fronzoli out November 10th. There's 500 copies of the first press, and I think there's some left. whatrealityrecords.bandcamp.com. People listening, you'd be a damn fool not to run up there and just grab one while you still can. What was interesting about that, I saw, is the first thing that sold out on the Fronzoli was the cassette.
Was it?
The cassettes are all gone.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
They actually look really smart. Like, I saw we were shipping them out, and I was like, can we, like, have we got enough to give to each other? And we're like, man, like, they did. They all went. I think we put aside like maybe 20 copies of the record, just for damages and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so we kind of fucked up as well, because we don't have any to release on release day. So we're like, Okay, like we should probably repress that quick. And I didn't think we would sell that many in Australia too, so it was nice. Actually being able to have people sort of like pre-order records. I suppose that was, I don't know. We've never done that properly before. Had a big campaign for a pre-order, so it was, it sort of set the ball rolling. And now, all right, release day November 10th. We'll see. Hopefully, I think a lot of people wait to hear the album as well before they buy the record. But it's nice to know the fans have a bit of faith in us. So.
Oh yeah, well, and I don't think there was even really a big campaign. I think I heard about it somewhere. And by the way, I'm prime target market. I've bought records from there before. I found out kind of via a third party, which again I think goes to your desire for the band not to, I guess, overhype themselves so much, but just to let the word get out. And if you do something that's kind of a big bang, that may bring in people who aren't exactly fans, right? So this way, the fans hear about it early, and so I'm looking forward to it. So Jack, thank you so much for coming on the Vinyl Guide, mate. I gotta say, as a fellow countryman, I know I don't sound like one, but as a fellow countryman, very, very proud of what you guys have been doing. Really enjoying the albums. I'm looking forward to Fronzoli. Again, I recommend people check out psychedelicporncrumpets.com. There's live dates there going up and down through Australia at the end of the year, as well as UK and Europe next year. I'm sure some shows in the States will follow. So make sure you grab a ticket if you're anywhere near there. And of course, right now, go to whatrealityrecords.bandcamp.com and grab yourself a copy of Fronzoli, one of the first presses, if you still can. And if you got a couple extra bucks, grab an autograph one, and maybe Jack and the crew will scrawl something interesting on the record there. Jack, thanks so much for coming on the Vinyl Guide, mate.
Thank you so much for having me on, Nate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh man, what a lovely dude. What a fantastic band. Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. I've yet to see them live. I was going to go see them, it was about a year and a half ago, right as the pandemic was starting to kind of wind down. And the day before the show, I caught COVID and I wasn't able to go. I stayed home like a good citizen, and I missed my chance at seeing Psychedelic Porn Crumpets in a rather small place too. So I know I'm going to have to see them at a bigger spot next time. Again, psychedelicporncrumpets.com. And I strongly urge you to get a copy of first Aussie pressing of Fronzoli. It's up there now. Psychedelicporncrumpets.bandcamp.com. I've got the link in this episode page. Grab one now or cry later. And that wraps up this episode of the Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for downloading and tuning in, and especially to all you folks who are sharing these episodes on your social media. That is a huge help. You know what else? If you have a moment, please leave us a positive review on iTunes or Spotify. Say something nice. Rate us 5 out of 5 stars. That is always super appreciated. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.